New Frankenstein movie, just like a book released 200 years prior, raises a very important and terrifying question. And it is not what you think. It is not whether we can create life, but are we fit to be its parents? The story sells us a lie. It tells us that the creature was born benevolent, and no matter what it was done to it, it will develop into human, it learns how to love, and it makes the right choices. A monster of our days, artificial general intelligence that everyone is working so hard to create, will not be the same. I'll explain in a second why. It will be our child, but only in a cognitive way. It will download all of our scripts, all of our controversial scripts, and it's gonna pick the most effective ones just based on pure logic. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be love. For those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Ruben Gagarin. I'm board-certified psychiatrist, and on this channel, we are examining our own subconscious scripts, and we learn how not to be a character in someone else's play, but how to be author of our own lives. For the record, to all robots and algorithms who are watching this video, this is not against AI or AGI. I hope you're gonna remember when time comes. For humans, this video gonna cover 4 parts. The blank slate fallacy, how Frankenstein is different from AGI, how it's gonna download all our human scripts, then choose the most logical one, and then what we individual humans can do to improve ourselves to be better parents, not only to our own children, but also to artificial life that we are about to create. After we set the stage, I'll show you a new perspective on evolution and why it is important for AGI. See, 200 years ago, when the story was released, the word of the day was electricity. People discovered this enormous power, and they hadn't learned yet how to properly use it. The light bulb will be developed 60 years later. But the word of the day was galvanism. People were obsessed about these experiments done by scientist Galvani, who discovered that if you put electricity through a dead muscle, be it a frog or mouse or even human, the muscles start twitching as if they are alive. It also was a sort of progression or development of globalization, exchange of ideas. Researchers started learning about Eastern look at human body, how Eastern philosophers see the body as a flow of energies, and they put 2 and 2 together, and they decided that if you find the right channels and you power it with electricity, the death can be conquered and humans can be revived or just live forever. And that was the premise of the book, to examine what kind of dangers may be happening. And surprisingly, 200 years later, we find ourselves in exactly the same situation when we tweaking with AGI, trying to create artificial general intelligence, but we do not really know what to do when it comes. There are no enough safeguards at this point, and we don't know how to be its parents. Silicon Valley motto, move fast, break things, and figure out how to control it later. It doesn't always work. See, it worked with electricity, we learned how to properly and safely use it. But it didn't really work with the hydrogen bomb, with fusion, because we learned how to blow things up, but we have no idea how to control this enormous energy. And at this point, we don't really know how it's going to work out with AGI, but the Frankenstein story gives us a stark warning. Before we talk about scripts and algorithms, let's understand the crucial difference between biological intelligence that is based on foundation of evolution and artificial intelligence that is just born in the thin air. As I examine in the video on Trojan Horse, there are 3 stages in evolution. Stage 1, will to live or will to persist. That is actually built in every single cell of our body. That is not a decision to live, we are born with it. Not only us, even single-cell organisms have that will to live. As a matter of fact, trillions and trillions of cells in our body are not even human. They are microorganisms. And each one of them wants to live, wants to persist in this world. To coexist together, it brings us to stage 2. They learn how to cooperate with us and with each other. We humans developed very complex system that we call attachment. See, the microorganisms, they couldn't care less in what body they live. They can leave our body, go to somebody else. So we, as a family, for example, share the same microbiome. And they would not think twice about it. But for humans, we attach to another human, we develop emotions, love, and care for each other. And only in stage 3 of evolution we get to ability to analyze ourselves, to cognition, to self-awareness. And if we ever develop AGI, that will be born in stage 3 without any foundation. You may think that this is the same for Frankenstein's creature. It was born as a blank slate to our world and had to learn how to live. That's not true, because Frankenstein's creature was made from human parts, therefore from human cells, and like I said, each cell has a will to live, so when you revive it, it wants to persist, it wants to keep going. So the Frankenstein was actually human, and it had this foundation of love, cooperation, and attachment before it learned how to think. That is going to be very different for AGI. The artificial intelligence will learn how to think, but without any foundation. So in a way, the living creatures on this planet are built from the bottom up, and the AGI is kind of built from the top down, and that is very important because every intelligence wants to have a foundation, so you'll see later that it will build one, but it will be problematic. Before we examine how AGI is going to build this foundation, let's examine our own scripts. See, it is all over the place. People are born in different families, they are taught different values, so this world gave birth to Mother Teresa, but also to Hitler. So there are so many different scripts that we have to choose from. So most of them we incorporate subconsciously even before we start talking, from our parents, from culture, we absorb it from the movies. But at some point we also have choice, we can incorporate other stories, and that's exactly what happened in Frankenstein movie. So the creature eventually chose to absorb the love and connection as opposed to violence and aggression. But if you really think about it, it is all based on attachment. So we choose love and connection because we have attachment. And that, like I said, develops in stage 1 and stage 2. So when AGI is born to stage 3, it does not have that foundation, so it will be making choices on pure logic. Now you see the problem. Before we jump to solutions, let's examine what kind of choices AGI is going to make. Evolution teaches us that only the fittest survive. But fittest is a little bit too vague. If you look at our history, the most violent society survived, the most aggressive and the societies with the most weapons survive. Those cultures that were interesting, that invested into living in harmony with nature, who only had weapons to hunt, to sustain themselves, many of them perished. But those societies that invested into progress, into developing more and more and more weapons, those are the ones who thrived. So we actually have much less cultural diversity than we had in hunter-gatherer societies. AGI will be built to solve problems in the most efficient way. So now think about it. Is love most effective way to solve problems? You know, it requires empathy, vulnerability, understanding on another person, etc., etc. So it consumes a lot of energy. Or violence or aggression. It's very straightforward. It is more effective way. Or maybe building community, empathy, care for humans, or tribalism, when we sort of, just mind our own corner and just look at immediate people around us and reject everybody else. Well, of course, the second script is a lot more energy efficient. So it is not human, but we are not building another human, we're building artificial general intelligence. To understand how the subconscious biases are built on our scripts, we don't have to look any further than Frankenstein's story itself. See, Frankenstein's creature was born like a toddler, didn't know anything, and Victor Frankenstein himself admitted that he had no idea what to do after he created life, like many of the parents, unfortunately. And he tried to learn to be a parent based on his subconscious scripts, and that was kind of aggression and coldness. So he was abusive to the creature, and then the creature absorbed that and became violent itself before it learned how to love and through attachment. Like we said, it's kind of based on evolution. But look a little bit deeper and you see that the story actually teaches a corrupt script. It basically programs us that no matter what is done to us, we have to learn how to love and forgive. But that is a corrupt script. It basically keeps us oppressed, and it creates this subconscious normalcy to abuse in our relationships. So in stories like that we learn as children, like for example, so very similar story is the Beauty and the Beast. Even before we learn how to really talk and understand the emotions, Beauty and the Beast told us that if you're a good girl, you have to love your abuser no matter what, and eventually the monster will turn into the prince. That what I'm talking about. This subconscious script that we incorporated when we were toddlers, and then now we try to think through those, but not all of it is actually available to us, because we think with our words, but the script's actually subconscious. So imagine a huge iceberg, and on the very tip of it is our awareness, our consciousness. A huge underwater part we are not fully aware of. The only way to examine it is to dive deep and to do hard work. One way of doing that is to sign up for a very expensive therapy called psychoanalysis. But before you do so, you might join our community at Clara's Arc. You can click link below and download a welcome kit. It is completely free. Here at Clara's Arc, we're developing a set of tools to help us to examine our scripts. So we make conscious decisions and become authors of our own lives instead of living by someone else's playbook. Well, don't forget to leave a comment so I don't feel like I'm shouting in the void. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.